Assalamu alaikum. And thank you for joining us. This is your host, Hannah Zuberi. Welcome back to another episode of Justice for All Now. Thank you for watching us on Muslim Network TV 24/7 on America's only Muslim-focused website and television station. You're always welcome to watch us 24/7 on Samsung Galaxy 19, Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Yesterday, we spoke about Bosnian Muslims' commemoration of the 25th anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide, in which the worst atrocity on European soil since the end of the Second World War. The event marked July 11, 1995, the day when Bosnian Serb forces marched into Srebrenica, a Muslim enclave on Serb territory in Bosnia that had been under the UN protection. After capturing the ill-fated town, Serb forces systematically killed more than 8,000 Muslim men and boys over the course of 4 days. Today, we will be talking about the impact of the genocide and what it had on specifically women and children of Bosnia. As 8,000 Muslim men and boys were primarily targeted by Serbian forces, today we ask, how were the women and numerous children affected by the horrors of these attacks? What happened to them? What happened to their families? And how has Bosnian society survived after this genocide? Joining us today is Melissa I'm going to say this correctly, Melissa, okay? Melissa Gigania Pelto. I hope
yes, that's right.
Alhamdulillah. And
Good enough.
Ahmed Hortanovic. I hope I said that right, Imam, inshallah. Imam Ahmed.
Yes, okay.
Alhamdulillah. Melissa was born in the central part of Bosnia in Travnik and is currently living with her family in Sarajevo. She is an activist for a local NGO called ACOS, which is devoted to working with youth and making significant efforts to share universal moral values within society. She has a master's degree in management and experience working with different NGOs in entrepreneurship. She loves to read and loves spending time with her 3 children. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you very much for having me.
Alhamdulillah. Imam Ahmed is from Srebrenica and is a survivor of the war. He lives and works in Srebrenica. He is a graduate of the Faculty of Islamic Sciences in Sarajevo and is a correspondent for IIN Revival. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And we're looking forward to this discussion and just learning from you all. One of the things that I have found is many people don't know what had happened, even though they have some vague idea of what transpired. They know that they have heard that there was a Bosnian genocide, but they really don't know the exact the effects of this genocide, what it had on the community, what it had on the country, and on the families that were left behind. So we're really grateful. I know it's a very painful part in history, and speaking of that trauma is terribly difficult. So we're really, really grateful to both of you for being here and sharing and bearing witness and testimony to what happened to our Muslim brothers and sisters. So Melissa, I'm going to start with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Where were you during this time? Tell us more about Travnik. What happened there? Because a lot of times we may hear of what happened in other parts of Bosnia, but may not have heard what happened in your hometown.
I would like just to start with thanking you for having us here and to giving us opportunity to share our stories and the truth that happened to Bosnian people on three sides. From Bosniak, Croats, and Serb side, we have survived something that is really a traumatic experience, and we have survived. So it is extremely important for us to share our stories across the globe, and this is really important opportunity, and we are thankful for having it. Second, I would like to thank to all the participants who are listening to this show, who are willing to learn about Bosnian cause, and hopefully they're going to learn from our experience, and in that way we hope that they will prevent such events anywhere in the world by the influence, by the different activities. When you ask me about the personal story and everything that happened in 1992 when war began, for me, as a child, I was 4 years old. I was really, I was starting to have just first memories, and they were, to be honest, painful, since my first memories aren't really connected to some happy events. They are connected to a smell of a burning house, bullets, and one of the hardest things that I do remember now, and maybe something that triggered my iman, alhamdulillah, later, was when bullets, when my mother took mattress to cover my sister and me, and she lay down over us to prevent us from being killed from all the bullets that was going through our house. Our house was one of the first that was burned in our neighborhood, even in our town, because as an act of revenge to my father, who took a very serious participation to defend that region. So I believe that my generation shares similar stories, no matter where they were living at that moment. It was hard for everyone, but I'm always redirecting these traumas, these very traumatic experiences, to something positive. I'm trying to say that even though people try to exterminate us, we have survived it, and that is our greatest victory.
Okay.
Not just in central part Bosnia, south, well, anywhere in the Bosnia. You see, the genocide activities didn't start in 1995 and didn't happen over the night. A very painful experience is from my hometown, where my parents are living right now. Was the beginning of the war, when a massacre, really very hard massacre, happened in a village called Ahmići. That village, that activity is through international court described as a massacre, but from my personal point of view, it was a genocide, since it was committed only on Bosniaks, and 120 people died from the dawn until the noon. Very few of them survived. My again, personal opinion is that Allah kept them survive to share the story, what happened there. It was a really brutal killing. It wasn't from Serbs, it was from Croatian Council of Defense. So that the Croatian part took, unfortunately, did those atrocities. It was when I say it was brutal, I say that in a way that they have burned people alive in houses, and they have crucified local imam just to show. I don't want to go into their goals, but it is really one of the hardest things when you are talking about what happened to Bosnian people. I start with this because it was really from my neighborhood, if I can say something like that. So,
were you were you one of the few survivors from that incident?
not from exact incidents, that was in another village.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, it's something similar didn't happen to my place where I was living. Not in that way. It wasn't. There were troops that came in the morning and finished the job by noon. My area where I was living, this happened like a war. It was in the something like, it's a part of the war. So something that happens in a war, when they shoot, they don't look who are they going to shoot. They don't see, is it soldier or as a civilian or as a child. We were just in the zone where the war was happening. That's why afterwards we went from that house. We went to live in one village. I was living in a small room with my family, and really hard experience. I don't want to lose so much time of this program because I have too many memories who are too painful, and I just want the people who are watching this have the feeling that we have managed to overcome that, to survive, and to move on with our lives. My parents now living in the same house which was burnt, and living and working with people who were doing those atrocities in a civilization. When I look at as a act, it is on a bigger level than those who committed those crimes and atrocities will ever be. Because my parents managed to they know that there is duty to come back and to live in their house. It is their right and moral duty, not just because it's their house like a property, but because it is like emanate to people who lost their lives by defending that place. And now, alhamdulillah, they have raised two daughters who are advocating and talking about what happened, and alhamdulillah, very successful and have children. And
Alhamdulillah.
I believe that we are winners, no matter the loss.
Those are very, very powerful sentiments, because that is winning. When you really talk about, what it's the survivors who then to get over that fear of, because obviously going back into the place where such atrocities were committed, were neighbors, what were the role of your neighbors at that point, and what is their role now?
Now my parents and that community, they live side by side. I wouldn't say that they live together. They have, I would say, correct. They're respectful to each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go into the details. What do they feel about my parents? And I know that they now live side by side. I know that my father meets people who were on the opposite side, but still he lives there and he has his daily life there. And I'm not living there for now at least 13 years, because I went to other town when I got married, and I have family in a different town. But so I want just to say that when I was going to primary school, I was going to the school which was divided. It was one school under one roof, but two schools. I don't know did I explain this properly? It was two schools under one roof. That is something, a phenomenon in the whole world. You have people of Croatian nationality. That was on 2002 and 3 and 4 when I was going to primary school, and so they were. We were living in something what looked like a basement.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to the school. It was in the same yard, but we were divided. The situation now is the same. It is the 25 years after the war, and you have still those schools in Bosnia,
segregated.
And it is really not promising for a brighter future. Because if you want to prevent such things and atrocities, children need to learn about diversity, to respect diversity, and to just to learn that we need to live together. I'm always saying that this is their homeland as well, to Croats and to Serbs. It is sad fact that they need to belong to some bigger country, so they would feel like they have some value. Bosniaks, we have only this country. We don't have any spare country. We cannot attach to someone. Alhamdulillah, whereas here, indigenous people, like my grandparents are from here, and I somehow I feel that I belong to this country. I don't know, do they share the same feeling, because they are always trying to search for their opinion and. For the opinion and the lifestyle, they're looking in another country. Me, as an authentic Bosnian woman, I don't have that need. So it's easier for me that way.
This is a very interesting look at what has transpired in the 25 years. And it's sad to hear that the segregation is still there, and that those ties to the land haven't been developed. And as you're saying, that the culture is being imported from other countries instead of being indigenous to the land. Um, Imam, I would like to, you are from the exact place where this mass genocide took place. How old were you when it happened? And if you want to share some memories of that time, how did you survive? Um, I feel terrible asking you this, because I don't know if I would want anybody to ask me if that I was in your situation. But I work in anti-genocide work. We do this all the time, and we understand that the stories of survivors is what keeps the work going. This is how people, how we will make sure that it doesn't happen again, and to stop things from like this from happening around the world.
Yeah. It is not easy to share our stories from Srebrenica, from old Bosnia, but we have to do that. We have to share our stories, our memories, because of future here in Bosnia. We have to make better future for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for that, thank you for opportunity to talk with you, to share my memory. As you said, I was a child. I was a kid, 7 years old boy when war started, and I was very confused and I didn't know what happening. And I was asking my father what is going on, and he said it's some celebration. People are shooting from their guns and nothing special. He said, but I knew that something very strange happening, and people are started to speak about memories from World War II, and we were very afraid. We were afraid that Serb forces will come in our village to kill us. My village is 30 kilometers east from Srebrenica in Bosnia. Bosnia is in Europe. And when the war started, it was in 1992, and I remember that, as I said, we were very full of fear, and we didn't know what to do, where to run away. We didn't have any escape, really, because we were surrounded with Serb forces. And in the late in 1992, a lot of refugees come from another villages in my village. And my village is very small village. It's surrounded by forest and woods. We lived there very nice life with our animals, with very small. It was very small community in my village, but in Srebrenica we had a lot of that villages. Uh, we lived very nice life. We had animals. We had cows. We had sheep, horses, and chickens, and it was like I don't know, like for me it was the paradise, really. I was with my father, and I was with my grandfathers, and with my uncles, with my relatives. Then came 1993, March 1993, and Chetnik Serb forces came to my village, and I remember that some shells started to fall down on our village. It was very difficult. It was very hard for me to run away from my village. I remember that we started to release our animals. We were crying, and I remember that those animals were crying, and we started to go to Srebrenica by. We walked to almost 30 kilometers. It was very cold and very big snow, and And when we came to Srebrenica, Srebrenica was full of people in that time, and people were sleeping on street and were,
And you had gone there because you thought that would be a safe. Your family
yeah,
thought it was a safe space.
yeah, we have to run away because they come with guns and shooting into us, shooting with tanks and grenades and everything. We have to run away, and we thought that Srebrenica is safe zone, really. But in that time, we didn't have anything to eat. Really, it was very hard, and when we came here, Srebrenica before genocide and before aggression had around 7,000 people in city, but in all municipality we have about 36,000 people. And when he came here, only the city had around 40,000 people, just city. It was crowded, really. It was full of people. Were sleeping on street, were putting fire on the street, and um, they didn't have anything to eat, really, and they very difficult time and very. And we find some house of our relatives. In that house, I remember that a very small house on two level. I think it was maybe about 50 our relatives were there. It was
Wow.
very very uh, hard to live there, and I stayed in Srebrenica one month, and when big massacre happened in front of schoolyard play yard in school in Srebrenica, when one day it one day it was 12th of April 1993, and Serbs uh, didn't throwing shells on the city, and it was quite day and calm. We went on street, and we started to walk, and some kids started to play the football, and a lot of kids, boys and girls were on that play yard, and suddenly just some shells fell down on that play yard and killed 100 boys and girls. And when that happened, my father insisted to find a way to send us to Tuzla from Srebrenica. It was uh, until April or May 1992. It was opportunity for some of people to go to Tuzla by United Nations trucks.
Okay.
And when trucks came with food, when they turned back, they took people. And somehow, I don't remember even how that happened. We just have put on that trunk. My father and uncles put my mom. My mom was pregnant, and my sister and I were on that trunk. And that was the last day, and that I saw my father and my uncles and my grandfathers. They stayed in Srebrenica. Srebrenica was pronounced United Nations safe area, safe zone, but it was never safe zone.
And
And we were lived with my mom and my sister and my newborn brother. He has never seen his father in
so,
his life. He was born in November 1993, and we left Srebrenica in March 1993, in April 1993, and um, we sent some letters from Tuzla. It is around 100 kilometers from Srebrenica by a Red Cross. We have opportunity to send letters, to write some words on those letters, to send to Srebrenica, and my father and other relatives have same opportunity to send to us letters, and I have those. I have hundreds of those letters still, and after 2 years came July 1995, and we heard that Srebrenica will fall down, Chetniks and Serb forces and police will come in city to kill off all of those people and all of the men and boys, and we were very afraid that we will not see again our father and other member of our family, really. And days after July 1995, nobody came to our house. We had hope that anyone, just maybe uncle or someone else, will come, but that never happened.
So they were the shaheed. They were the shaheed of.
Yeah, inshallah, we will meet him in Jannah, inshallah. And my father and 4 uncles and 2 grandfathers were killed in genocide in Srebrenica. Never left. No, it is. This is just one story from Srebrenica. There is a lot of stories that are so sad, even sadder than mine. It's horrible what happened here.
8,000 of those men and boys. Behind each of them was a family. Behind each of them were people who loved them, who cared about them. So we learned that that the men and boys were killed while women and children were put aboard buses and sent to Bosniak-held territory. How did this extremely gender-related massacre in that city, in that this gender genocide affect the lives of these women and children during and after the genocide? What lasting impacts have both of you seen in your communities because of this?
Can I start
Yes.
with since when this bombing and everything stopped in 1995, it was officially the end of the war. So I, with my family and I, we didn't have the house where we are going to back to, and we moved to Bosanska Krajina, one town in Bosanska Krajina. And I was still at school age, and I was going to a class. 36 of us was in that class, and only 5 of us had father. So people in that part of Bosnia survived similar thing like in Srebrenica, but the difference. I would maybe it's not the best word, the difference, but in that part of Bosnia, killings were happening like they would put out all families and then murder them, and they didn't really put women away. I have some research and personal experience stories. They would just take all the family out and kill everyone, and that was like just we are cleaning this area, and we don't need you. We don't need you here. And I know that those women who were living alone after the war, who survived and living without husbands, with only with their children, they had that tremendous strength. They were really a strong persons. I don't know from what they were taking that courage. From God first, I think. Then because of the amount of injustice that happened to them, God gave them the strength to survive and to raise their children. Many of them were also victims of those concentration camps, but they were just they they were just embarrassed to talk about that, and they were keeping quiet about it. No one was actually mentioning like it is something like it was embarrassing for them. And other effect about what women had to go through was that they were in a position to watch helplessly to their husbands who were taking away from them, and they could do nothing. It is not that those rapings and what hurts woman. It is the position that she sees the persons she was expecting the protection from, her husband, her father, and the closest relatives, that they're completely helpless. Those women who had to witness situations where their men and when their husbands and fathers were killed in front of them, I think that those experiences are really, really hard and affected a lot of them. Many of them didn't know how to deal with, and many of those women now live and they do nothing about the trauma. Unfortunately, it is going transgenerationally to their children, and they are not healing properly. Not because they don't want to, but because they are too shameful about it, and they think, not just raping. I'm saying these events when they saw their members of family helpless. It is something that is really affecting a woman who, by her nature, really feels safe when is around her husband, her brother, her father. And when you see a situation like that, then that is something really traumatic. You see that they are really helpless. They cannot help you. One of the really monstrous acts was when they were raping and killing their women, their children in front of them, just to make the situation even worse. So they have those memories. They tortured and the male as well. In the same way, they would take their daughters and wives and to kill them and do everything to them in front of the eyes of a man, and then would shoot them. These acts weren't acts of normal warrior activities. When you have two opposite sides and they fight against each other, this was trying to dehumanize Muslims and even the Croats and Serbs who weren't on their side. So I have to acknowledge that they were victims from three sides, not in the same amount, of course, but there were people who suffered as well from those sides, and it was something monstrous, really, nothing that is really alike to a war. I know that in the world right now we have similar things. People, unfortunately, are getting worse to each other, and we can maybe do research and everything about it, and then try to prevent it in the best possible way, just to bring something that is human and common, and we have this common right together. So we stop that people be so cruel to each other.
Something that you said, this is as Muslim women, this is something that is also taught to us. This isn't a part of our deen, that our men are protectors over us. This is part of our faith, right, Imam? We are taught this, that the men have a status because of their protective nature. So to see that, I can understand what the sister is saying, and for men too, this is like how we become so oppressed, right? And when satanic or shaitanic enemies come to you, that this is, what do you do as an imam? Like, what would you guidance that would you give to women like this who might be feeling this? And a lot of times, we don't talk about mental health as it interacts with our deen, with the faith. I would love to hear your opinion on that.
Because I'm here in Srebrenica, I have opportunity to go all over Srebrenica and to visit those mothers, to speak with them and to hear their stories, and really I cannot say that I'm enjoying that, but I'm very happy when I go to their houses and speak with them and say some nice words to them. We didn't have any, even mothers and I, as a yatim, as a victim, we didn't have any help from psychiatrists, from, I don't know, those people who caring about mental health. We didn't have that until now. It was 25 years after genocide, but we found our strength in our faith in Islam, and we are stating those ayats that are encouraging us and giving us hope that it will be better in future life. And when I came to those mothers, they are so happy that they can see me, and that's for them that's the most important thing, that someone are coming to their houses. They are very happy to see guests, really, to see good people, and because a lot of those women are living alone in their houses. There is no one else with
No
them.
one else.
And when you came to their houses, they are so happy, as I said, and they had a very big trauma, and you cannot explain that. You only can see that. And I remember in those days in July in 1995, my mother, she was almost 30 years old, 29. She was very young.
Very.
And my father, she was breastfeeding my father, my brother, and when she heard that genocide happened in Srebrenica and that no one is coming, she didn't eat almost 20 days. She just drink water, nothing else, and she was on bed. And my small brother, he was 1.5 years old, and when he came to my mother, he just uh, take T-shirt and of my mom and started to breastfeed them himself. And on 20th day, blood started to go out from my mom's breast, and we take her to the hospital, and she survived somehow that. It was very difficult time, but we are Muslims. We are trying to understand through our faith what was happened here, and we are. I can say, Alhamdulillah, we are now better Muslims after that. Really, we are better Muslims. Really, that's a fact. And we have here in Srebrenica, we have in Islamic school, Mektab. It's our traditional Islamic school. We had in Srebrenica only in town 80 children are coming. I teach those children, but we have 250 children that are coming to Islamic school, and we are teaching them. And there is still, here will be life, inshallah, until the end of the world. And I hope that we will transmit our memory to our children on the best way we can do that. Really.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you that the killings were targeted towards the men. but it has been reported by the Bosnian Missing People Persons Institute that there were bodies of women and children that were found as well, although on a much smaller number. And it was reported that some of these women chose to flee with their husbands and children rather than board the buses that took them away. Some of them didn't leave their men. How do you think we can best preserve the stories of these women? Sometimes they get lost.
Who will speak? Hi.
Go ahead.
You have to know that aggression started in 1992 and until 1995 in East Bosnia, there is a few cities in East Bosnia that genocide happened in all of them, you know. And there is a story from one woman. Her name was Zakira. She was from Bratunac. Bratunac is the city next to Srebrenica, 10 kilometers down. And she was pregnant. She was in, I think, 8 months pregnancy. And when Chetniks came to their house, and he killed her, and he slaughtered her stomach and take away her never born child, and then put fire on them. That's those stories are horrible, and you cannot understand that. And even in 1995, they raped a lot of women. They kill a lot of children. And we are living with that. We are trying to understand why they did that to us. We still don't know. We cannot. It's very hard to speak about that.
Melissa, do you have any?
I would like to add just to that because I'm always wondering as well why do you have the need to dehumanize and to kill other people? And it's really specific to our situation in Bosnia and Herzegovina. That this genocide that happened now in 1995, it wasn't an event just that happened now. It occurred many times through history. We are witnesses of 10 genocide in the recent 100 years where people were killed in their villages and no one would know for that. They were just killed. A group of people would come to the village, kill everyone, and no one would know for that. Something it wasn't explored. It wasn't how to say. It wasn't go to any tribunal, to court, and anywhere. It was like a normal thing. They come and they kill and they go and they finish. During these 3 centuries, I would say, you have many areas around Bosnia and Herzegovina who were Bosniaks. So people, Muslims, were living not just in Bosnia. Now it is really, really narrowed, this area, and Bosniaks and Muslims are mostly living here. But we had Muslims in Croatia as well, in Montenegro, in Serbia, many towns, and even a part that was until the beginning of 20th century, it was part of Bosnia Sanjak, and many people from Bosnia who are Muslims, really practitioner Muslims, are living still there. And so I'm trying to say that there is a long year the tradition in their upbringing. They're just transferring from one generation to another that they have moral obligation to destroy Muslims, as they refer to us as Turks. They have the moral obligation to exterminate Turks from this area because we don't belong here.
Can you break that a little bit more? Where did this notion that you are Turks and you need to be destroyed come from?
It is from the 14th century, and it is going through their mythology. They have special songs written on that topic. It is something called Kosovo Boy, fighting at Kosovo, battle at Kosovo. Ahmed probably knows about even Ratko Mladic when he was coming to entering the Srebrenica on 5th of July, right? when he took over the Srebrenica from UN. Then he said that is the act of revenge to Turks for the Battle of Kosovo, because Serbian at that time lost a battle, and the whole battle is full of mythology and everything. They were just transferring that from generation to generation, and they say to their children that Turks, Muslims, because people in Bosnia and Herzegovina that took Islam, they took it from Turks, and from actually this isn't good expression. We took it from people from Ottoman Empire when they conquered Bosnia and Herzegovina space and around space of Bosnia and Herzegovina. People who willingly wanted to accept Islam, they took it because of Ottoman Empire who came to Bosnia, and that's why they call us really with a really bad name like Poturice. It means like we were Serbs but who took Islam, and now we are Turks, and they need to exterminate us because we changed the religion. So one of the really specific
me ask one more question to clarify. Ethnically or racially, are Bosnians and Serbs the same people, and the difference is the faith, or is it different? Racially, there's a difference as well.
We are actually all Slavs. We are Slavs. In 7th century, it was a mass of movement of people, and all of us, we came from that part of Russia, northern part. And in this specific area, we are all Slavs, just as Bulgarians, for example. And all these area, we are. When you see Bosniak and a Serb a man, you wouldn't find any difference because we really look the same. And the only difference now maybe is because many women Bosniaks are wearing headscarves. But if you see a Serb woman or a Muslim woman, it is the same. This is the same people. Just in ethnic way, we are just different. In our case, we are confusing ethnicity with religion.
Yeah.
We are all. It is like when you are a Bosniak, automatically you are a Muslim. When you are a Croat, automatically you are a Christian, and when you are Serb, automatically you're Orthodox Christian. For Croats, Catholics. I'm sorry, Croats are Catholics. So it is like, even though history, this is really complex story, and history call everyone who lived in Bosnia as Bosniaks, not just Muslims, but they were with this narrowing of people. We all became. They got their, like they are Serbs if they are Orthodox Catholics, but if they are Christian, if they are Catholics, I'm sorry, I'm confusing these words. So if they are Catholics, then they are Croats, and if we are Muslims, then we are Bosniaks. So I'm saying that they are using this mythology, ideology, and religion, everything mixed up, so they can differentiate us like others. And very specific poem I want to say about, I don't want to miss this part, is a Mountain Wreath, something that it was written in 19th century, and it's about Turks and how we should kill them. This is something that they sing, and even I've heard Sanjak Mufti now that he told that he needed to study that, to read that poem in his madrasa. It was a systematically way to transfer genocide through generations. Now we have a situation where we teach our children about genocide through non-governmental organizations. So if you have one NGO who is willing to come and educate people, then children, even Bosniaks, would know. But you see the difference. They systematically through the education system were teaching their children in a very quiet way about what they should do when the opportunity occurs. And Balkan region is very unstable. We're geopolitically very interesting to all world powers, to United States, to Russia, back then Soviet Union, and to all really important people. It is good to make this region unstable. So they are always reinforcing that animosity, which is here really easily to you can start the fire whenever you want. So our people really need to get more education, really need to be more wise not just in a way that we get more information, but
And
in
with
a
the
way
rising tides of fascism and Islamophobia, this is a very turbulent time for your people as well. And I know some of the work that you do is basically on that, spreading moral values and harmony to people of all faiths. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work as we're wrapping up?
yes, yes, we are trying to do, but our work, unfortunately, is narrowed to only work with Bosnian Muslim youth, because our NGO is focused on that group, even though we wouldn't say no to anyone, since we really preach and teach only about universal moral values. They are, of course, in accordance with Islam. So we know that we are trying to teach people skills that they are going to help them to survive in this occasion. For example, we were working with children in municipality Zvornik, it is in Republic of Srpska, and we were just trying to be their friends, and we were working on some skills like problem solution. We didn't come and teach them anything about war, anything about history, anything, because they are living it. They are living it in history right now. They are facing many. They know things more better than I do. So we are trying to learn them communication skills as something that they are going to use to live better life in a society, in a community actually, where they are living now, and with Serbs, to how to communicate, how to deal, how to not get emotional and stressed when they and they can really easily be triggered with everything around them, and it is just to mention their father, those children and grandfather, those children are triggered. So we're trying on that level to work with them as well. We're trying to work with students in a way that if you build yourself, you're building as well your homeland, and without leaving your homeland, then you can stay here and work in these conditions. It is not ideal. I know it is really set to be set apart to fail, but Alhamdulillah, and thanks to Allah, I think that we are somehow we are managing to survive, not to fail totally. We don't have so brilliant politicians, but inshallah everything is going to be better with generations that are coming, and they're really willing to work to preserve not the country but the homeland, because we had it emanat.
Yes, this is something that beautiful that you had said earlier, and we have to wrap up now. And I think we lost Imam Ahmed. We'd love to have you guys come back again, and perhaps talk much more. There's so much more that I want to ask you, and it's such a deep work that you are doing and he's doing, and everybody that I talk to keeps telling us Muslims need to come and visit Bosnia. So inshallah, once this pandemic is over,
You're most welcome.
inshallah, we have to come and visit our brothers and sisters there and remember what had happened to them. We can't forget. So all of you watching, I hope one day you also make intention to go visit all of those who lost their lives during this genocide, but to see how they're surviving and how they have rebuilt their society and are surviving to this day. We cannot just leave stories of victimhood, but we have to highlight and uplift the stories of survivors. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.